Good morning. Today is Tuesday, the 31st of August. We welcome you here to our Weber County Commission meeting. Glad to have you, those of you who have chosen to be in attendance live and those who are also with us online. We appreciate that. This morning, our Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Colby Ryan from our Sheriff's Office. Our invocation will be given by Cortland Erickson. There you are. I was looking here, but then there. Thank you very much. And our thought of the day will be given by Commissioner Gage Frohr.
Repeat after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our Heavenly Father, we approach Thee in gratitude today for the privilege and blessing of being part of this great country. We're thankful for the freedoms that we enjoy. We're thankful for the wisdom of those who established our country, and we pray for those who are in positions to make decisions at this time, particularly the county commissioners, that they will do their very best to govern with wisdom and respect for all. We're grateful for their service and their leadership to us. We pray that we can all look for ways to serve others and lift their burdens. And we ask for these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Commissioner Frohr.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, a couple of thoughts for today, if I might. First, I think the events the tragedies that we saw recently in Afghanistan, the loss of our military personnel over there, 13, one actually Utah, I think we're very much aware of, is a tragedy that's heavy on everybody's mind. I wish we had some solutions or answers or ways forward to avoid this in the future, but I'm not sure any of us do. We just pray, and our thoughts are with those families and with the leaders of our country that hopefully will come together and come up with future foreign policy that may avoid such situations. But my main thought, Mr. Chair, has to do with a holiday coming up next week. I know that you'll be working that day, but some of us will be taking that day off. It's called Labor Day. And Labor Day was actually started because of the labor movement in this country. And I happened to study a lot of the labor movement when I was in graduate school, and it's a great history to follow. Significantly different from the labor that we see today. Back then, labor movements, the Teamsters were fighting for rights, and basically the large companies at that point in time had control of the labor, and they were probably not treating the employees, the people, in a fair manner. So they actually went on a major campaign, and in 1892 there was a riot with Pullman, which was the railroad back then, that actually ended up killing 13 people, which was kind of the start. Then Grover Cleveland in 1894, trying to make reconciliation with the Teamsters and with the labor movement, made it a national holiday, Tuesday, September 5th, 1894. So that's where it comes about. It's a celebration of labor. It's interesting if you look back at the history, how that labor movement and our history of labor today is significantly different than it was in the late 1900s. So that's my thought.
That's great. I appreciate it. They're always so well prepared, and you're like an Encyclopedia Britannica. I appreciate that. Okay, Commissioners, we're going to move to item E, like echo on our agenda, which is the public comment section. Comments today will be heard for items listed on the agenda only. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes. Shelley, are there any comments online? None today. Are there any comments from Galley? Please come forward, state your name, the city you're from, and the agenda item you'd like to speak to.
Yes, sir. My name is Carolyn Lito-Venegas from North Ogden. Good morning, Commissioners. How y'all doing today?
Good morning, and the agenda item you're speaking to, Carolyn.
It's one of the purchase orders, 3210762 Overdrive, Inc. So good morning, Weber Commissioners. It's regrettable when the people have to resort to subterfuge to be heard at our county meetings, but so be it. Unfortunately for you gents, that forces us to take a closer look at the county's finances. And what we've seen so far is concerning, but that's a topic for another day. Agenda item number 2 containing this purchase order is being paid $75,000 for what exactly? Has a cost-benefit analysis been done, and we the people got to see that as to whether this is the best product for the money? I have a notice from Arlington Memorial Library that has discontinued using Overdrive and has its own cloud library. We have extensive web server capacity here. I put a link in the notes that I'm going to give you. Finally, in light of the highly unsatisfying meeting yesterday whereby we the people were prevented from speaking, I'm publicly issuing each of you gentlemen a notice of liability in the ceremonious fashion that you seem to like so well. Essentially, putting you on notice that the mandates illegally issued in 2020 by the Health Department with support of Weber County Commission are not to be repeated.
Carolyn, I'm going to call you out of order.
In 2021. Hey,
You're out of order. Please sit down.
I'm not out of order.
You are out of order.
We the people can speak at a public meeting. I'm being respectful. I'm staying within the confines of this.
You're out of order. You're not going to the thing. We're going to call you out of order.
Okay, well, I'm going to issue your notice of liabilities anyway.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak? Prefer that?
Perfectly fine. They're a legal document.
Right now, all of us, stand up.
All right.
Come on now.
You're getting your public.
We have a First Amendment right to, and I'm being respectful.
Commissioners, we're going to move on from our public comment section to item number F, which is our consent items.
You can get on the agenda for your issue.
No, it's not that kind of a thing. I have an agenda item and
All
I
right.
approached it.
So
That
the
is
chair has
exactly right.
addressed you. All right?
Okay, well then I'm going to issue my notices of liability and be on my way, if that would be fine with
Go
you.
ahead and provide them to me.
You are
I'll go
interfering
hand them
with
over.
the lawful and legal process right now. We are
You are
serving these
also
commissioners.
you are also
We're not
disrupting
disrupting
a
the
lawful
meeting. No, we're not.
Yes,
You
you
know
are.
what?
We're providing public context to what's going on here. And you are trying to, you guys are using
I'm happy to provide
subterfuge.
the documents that you would like.
No, sir.
However-
She's
We have to
gonna do
issue them
that right
personally
now in
because they're
person,
notices of
right?
Carolyn.
liability, they're legal documents.
Please hand the documents to the deputy, and then we'll move forward with our meeting. Thank you.
That's all right, you guys. That's all right. No problem.
Right here.
Thank you.
You guys can run, but y'all can't hide.
Appreciate it. Commissioners, we're going to move ahead now to our consent items, which is item number F. Number 1 is a request for approval of warrants 4290 through and including 4309 and 461,396 through and including 461,525 in the amount of $478,089.56. Item 2 is a request for approval of purchase orders in the amount of $551,640.10. Item 3 is a request for approval of minutes for the meeting held on June 29th, 2021. Item 4 is a request for approval of the First Amendment to the Ogden Valley Recreation Transmission Special Service District Lease Agreement. And item 5 is a request for approval of an amendment to commissary agreement with the Summit Food Services LLC. Commissioners, I'm going to ask Sean Harwood, who's with us from the Forest Service, come forward really quick on this consent item as it relates to the Ogden Valley Recreation area. Mr. Harwood, come forward if you would, please. Oh, the agreement for number 1. We'll have you hold those comments if you would. Thank you very much. Commissioners, on the consent items, are there any questions?
It's interesting to be noted that on our PO report, the seats for the Ogden Eccles Conference Center are on there. And it's exciting. We've known that it's been going to come now for 8 or 9 months, and it finally got here. So I'm excited to approve this.
That's really good. Yeah. Commissioner Farrar, any questions?
No, I would just make a comment. I'm excited to see the Ogden Valley Transmission Special Service District lease agreement take place. That's a great service for many residents in Ogden Valley. It gives them access to public TV.
Great. Mr. Hatch, go ahead.
We issued 21 purchase orders this week for $552,000. 65% of that amount, or $359,000, is for the conference center for the theater seating replacement that Commissioner Jenkins spoke to. 15%, or $82,000, is for the library, and that is to purchase audiobooks and ebooks. 5%, or $30,000, is for the transfer station, primarily for tree grinding services. And then 5%, or $29,000, is for the Golden Spike Event Center, which is used to purchase concessions. We issued 150 warrants this week for $478,000. 39% of that amount, or $187,000, is an escrow release for Taylor Landing. 16%, or $75,000, is for the Golden Spike Event Center, and that will go to replace the sound system in the Golden Spike Arena. 13%, or $63,000, is for the library. That went to purchasing books and then equipment and building maintenance. And then 5%, or $26,000, is for the ice sheet, and that went primarily to utilities, but also a little towards training and travel.
Very good, thank you. Commissioners, does that bring up any other questions for you? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion for the consent items.
I'd make that motion that we approve consent item F1 through 5.
Have a motion for items F1 through and including 5.
I'll second that.
I have a motion and a second. I'll place that motion for vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Thank you. Moving on to our action items. Our first item today, Commissioners, is a request for approval of a contract by and between Weber County and the U.S. Forest Service, allowing Weber County to assist with improving access points to Pineview Reservoir. Gary Myers. Well, hello.
Ashley.
Ashley, nice to have you here.
Yes, I'm here in the place of Gary Myers to present this contract.
Thank you very
to the
much.
Commission. This is a contract that we've been working with the Forest Service for close to a year to get to this point. To work with the Forest Service to receive money from the Forest Service to put together plans to improve sites around Pineview Reservoir. The county is committing to participate through our labor. That's part of our match is to, we have various roles that are involved with the review and design of these different sites. And there's also a contribution from the concessionaire around Pineview to make this all possible.
Wonderful.
Do you have any questions? Or Sean, do you have anything you'd like to add about this contract?
Please, now would be good. Thank you, Sean.
Thanks, Ashley. So, as Ashley mentioned, we've been working on this for quite some time. This is one of the promises I've made to Gage over a handshake agreement, and we have now the legal and binding agreement set up. I'd like to introduce Nick Smith from Utah Recreation Company. We call him URC. They're our concessionaire at Pineview, and he's here to present you with a check for part of to keep this project moving forward.
Wonderful. Mr. Smith, welcome.
Thank you, gentlemen. We have a check to pass forward to Weber County for $68,000 to get this project rolling. And we do have a partnership agreement with Weber County and the Forest Service, and would love to see the improvements and steps forward around Pineview.
Thank you. I know Commissioner Jenkins, this is in your portfolio, but I know Commissioner Furrow, you've done a lot of work on this. Any comments?
Yes, thanks, Mr. Chair. So, as Commissioner Jenkins would probably say, happy day. I think I've heard him say that before. I just want to congratulate and thank Sean and Utah Recreation. Obviously, Ashley and Gary have been on this. I think we've been working at least in the last 2 years that I know very thoroughly, and usually monthly meetings. It went down into weekly meetings at some point in time. And I know at certain times through that process, some of us were questioning the Forest Service willingness to make the improvements that we're always talked about. We know from last year's experience at Pineview, we had parking issues, crowded issues. This year, not quite as much, but we knew, and we we're looking forward to the day when the Forest Service would actually come forward with a proposal, with a contract where we could make the necessary improvements to handle the people that want to recreate on Pineview Reservoir. And this is a major step forward with Ashley and Gary and with Weber County, and with the participation from URC. This is a huge deal. This is a huge deal. This will give us the design, this contract, and the money we'll receive from the Forest Service. And Sean, you could tell us what that amount is. But between the two, this will give us all the engineering, basically blueprints, ready to go into construction over the next 2 to 3 years. And improve our parking, improve the beaches, change the face of Pineview in my mind, based upon, and I want to thank USU. USU actually came up with the plan through their students doing a workshop that kind of put this into a 20-year plan for Pineview. So I just want to thank our URC, Forest Service, and our folks. You know, a couple months ago, I wasn't sure this was even going to take place. So thanks, Sean.
Thank you.
Yeah, I guess that was what motivated me to make sure that it got done. But Ashley, Gary, and the group that worked on this agreement did a lot of work to get it. And again, nothing in the agency happens quickly, but when it does, it's always a good thing. This agreement's total value is $564,000. So, and that's what the value of the whole agreement is. And this is only the start. So we also have the implementation money in the Forest Service coffers to begin the construction of these sites once this planning is completed.
That's wonderful. Great. You know, Commissioners, I know Mr. Harwood to be one who was born and raised here, educated here, and he had a fantastic career in the Forest Service, but chose to spend the evening hours of his career back here at home to make a difference. And I want you to know how much we appreciate. You're making a huge difference. Thank you for the positive collaboration that you've brought with all these different parties, Sean, and we really appreciate you especially. Ashley, you and Gary, thank you, and Mr. Smith, thank you very much for participating with us.
And we appreciate the cooperation and
Thank
the
you.
coordination with Weber County.
Commissioners, we have before us the contract. Would any of you like to make a motion to this contract?
I'd make a motion that we approve this contract with a comment.
Go ahead.
I want to thank Sean for the effort he's put into this. We appreciate him a lot, and Commissioner Farr for his efforts. I know this is in my portfolio, but it's up in his area, and he's been passionate about it, and I really appreciate that. So it's good. So with that, I'd make a motion that we approve this contract between Weber County and the U.S. Forest Service.
Great, I have a motion
And I'd be happy to second that.
and a second. I'll place that motion for vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Sean.
Commissioners, item number 2 is a request for approval of a contract by and between Weber County and Flock Group, Inc. for hardware, software, license plate readers. Kobe Ryan, welcome. Thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
So,
This is kind of cool.
yes, this is kind of a new technology. License plate readers have been around for many years, but with the Flock system, it's more of a license vehicle recognition system. Ogden City and the Ogden Business Depot have been using it for a few years and have had great success. What kind of got us interested in looking at this is a lot of people, over 70% of major crimes are committed using a vehicle. With the community, a lot of people are going with their Ring cameras or security cameras that get a great view of the side of vehicles, but we never get a license plate to follow up on these crimes. With the Flock system, they're a mounted, integrated cellular camera, so they don't need to be hooked up to any electricity or computer systems that can be tampered with. But with this system, with the use of the Real-Time Crime Center, we make what's called hot sheets for wanted vehicles, stolen license plates, wanted felons, and that is entered to the Flock system, so whenever the vehicle that they're driving, whether it be a license plate, it can recognize make, model, color, accessories, if they have ladder racks on them, ski racks. But it sends an alert to the real-time crime center, who can then notify deputies in the area of these wanted vehicles coming past these cameras. The most recent incident we had which was kind of high profile, was last year on Patterson Street. There was a kidnapping. The Real-Time Crime Center was able to track that vehicle through Ogden City and out into Weber County, where it was a stolen vehicle that had an infant child in the back seat. Within an hour, we were able to locate that vehicle and safely take the child back into police custody. A short time later, with the help of a helicopter, we were able to locate the two suspects. But the time sensitiveness of this case was prompt with just the use of these cameras. The cameras use a secure, encrypted cloud server, which only Weber County and the Real-Time Crime Center will have access to after the initial installation. The fingerprints are only available for 30 days, where law enforcement has to have a reason to go in and look for these specific vehicles. So it's not just tracking every single vehicle that comes through a neighborhood. Flock Systems works really closely with HOAs, private businesses. The cameras that were set up through Ogden City and the Business Depot, with a user agreement between Ogden City, the Business Depot, and Weber County. With the 10 cameras we will lease, that'll put us up close to 40 cameras that all agencies have access to that are in the Flock system. And we're currently working with other agencies and cities to get on board with them purchasing or leasing cameras. Then that'll just help us in our law enforcement duties every day to catching these wanted criminals. And a couple of stats I took down, Wichita, Kansas has about the same population as Weber County. Within 1 month, they were able to locate 68 stolen vehicles, recover $589,000 worth of stolen property, 39 arrests for violent felons, and 13 guns, as long as several pounds of narcotics were taken off the street. And that was just within the first 30 days of them going with this program. So I think it's very kind of a cool project, and with technology going the way it is just to help law enforcement, I feel this is a way we need to go.
Great. Thank you very much. Commissioner Ford, this is in your portfolio. Would you like to speak to it?
Yeah, just briefly. So I think anytime we have new technology that will put additional tools in the hands of our law enforcement people, and in a very efficient manner and in a private manner, I think it's a good thing. So I would support the sheriff and Mr. Ryan in his attempt to help the Weber County in technology.
Thank you.
Very good.
Make that a form of motion if you'd like.
I'd like that very much. Thank you very much. I have a motion on this item. Number 2.
Question to see if I'm going to second that.
Okay, go ahead.
The question is, will you use these cameras to do speed control, issue tickets?
No. These are just strictly recognition. The old license plate readers we had in the past were very cumbersome, and they were mainly used for finding expired registration and warrants and denied driver's license, suspended driver's license. These cameras are used to help solve crimes, not
Okay, I'll
traffic
second that.
enforcement.
Great. Very good. We have a motion and a second. I'll place that motion for vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you very much, Colby. Great job.
Thank you. Have a
Appreciate
great
your
day.
work and the extra effort. Mr. Ferrario, you're next on our agenda, which is, Commissioners, this is a request for approval of a contract by and between Weber County and the Ogden Friends of Acoustic Music to be held on the 14th, or to hold the 14th annual O-Foam Music Festival at Fort Buenaventura. Mr. Ferrario, what a wonderful job you've done at our historic Fort Buenaventura. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
This is obviously, as you read, the 14th year. We did not hold this event last year. This usually comes the first weekend in June. With the COVID restrictions still in place and us having to move worlds, we are doing it over Labor Day weekend this year. And I would like to especially thank Michelle Tanner and Reba Nelson, the two directors of this event, for working with us. This is one of our 3 marquee events at the fort. Historically been good for the fort and great for the community. As far as the contract goes, very straightforward. Nothing outside of the fee ordinances other than we do sponsor, so this stage is sponsored by us. And we do get recognition both in their publicity and with banners at the events. So any questions about OFOM?
Before I call for questions, or questions are entertained, that's a great event down there. There's a lot of people that go to that. Most of you saw the number of people that came to our World Disc Golf Championship, and while there's not quite as many people that come to OFOM, boy, it brings yet another use to our historic fort, and you've done a wonderful job with that, Mr. Ferrario. Thank you.
We're expecting 3,000 to 4,000 people over the days so the numbers are equivalent. That last day impact on Worlds, because of how it ended, was huge, but this is a very good, very well supported community event as well. So.
Very good, thank you. Any questions for Mr. Ferrario? None being heard, I'll entertain a motion.
I'd make that motion, Mr. Chair, that we approve the contract by and between Weber County and Ogden Friends of Acoustical Music for the 14th Annual OFO Music Festival.
Great, thank you. We have a motion
Second.
and a second. I'll place that motion for vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Thank you, Todd. You do a great job. Commissioners, this next item is a resolution of the County Commissioners of Weber County authorizing the filing of additional cross appeals for the 2021 centrally assessed properties. Mr. Erickson, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners. What we are presenting to you today is the equivalent of a resolution that you considered and adopted on July 6th. It's for 4 additional centrally assessed property taxpayers who had not yet filed as of July 6th. Because of statutory deadlines, we had to file on those cases if we were going to before the other taxpayers got their appeals filed. So this would address the appeals from AT&T Incorporated, Compass Minerals Ogden Incorporated, Union Pacific Railroad Company, and Utah Railway Company. All of those 4 taxpayers later filed appeals. This would direct the county to file cross appeals, join those cases to be able to participate along with other counties on the property tax division in those appeals to ensure that the process works and that we have a seat at the table during that litigation.
Thank you very much, Mr. Erickson. Questions?
None for me.
Very good. Hearing no questions, this is a resolution. I'll place this motion for vote. Craig, go ahead.
Commissioner Farr?
Aye.
Commissioner Jenkins?
So we didn't have a motion to approve this.
Did we not?
That's correct.
Okay, I'm sorry. Will you make that motion?
I'd make the motion that we approve Resolution 33-2021.
Second.
Have a motion and a second now, Mr. Brandt. Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Farr?
Aye.
Commissioner Jenkins?
Aye.
Chairman Harvey?
Aye. Thank you. Thank you again, Commissioner Jenkins. Great. Moving on, Commissioners, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn the public meeting and convene a public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. We'll now have a public hearing to receive input and consider approval of the adoption of an amendment to the sewer impact fee analysis. A board resolution adopting sewer impact fees. Chad Meyerhofer. Ashley, you're going to do it for Chad as well then, right? Or it's the, huh? Correct. And you're going to bring Gorton with you? Yes. Great.
Commissioners, the notice that was sent out is correct as far as it goes, as far as the amendment to the sewer impact fee analysis, but there is not a resolution or ordinance before you today to consider. So this would be to approve the amendment to the impact fee analysis, and that is all for today.
Very good.
And that was
Amendment to the impact fee analysis.
my fault for not catching that before it got on the agenda with that additional language.
To the resolution.
Okay.
And the purpose of the amendment to the sewer impact fee is that the original costs for lift stations, there's 5 lift stations out west that are master planned. The costs have risen significantly, and as we've restudied that, we're proposing to adjust that impact fee in 4 similarly sized lift station areas. The 5th lift station is a smaller lift station and does not need the significant costs that the other 4 will. And so that's the proposal, is to amend those fees to represent the current cost to construct.
Very good. Commissioner Jenkins, this being in your portfolio, would you like to address it?
I was. Actually, you haven't presented this to us.
Has Chad, I believe Chad's discussed this
No.
in work meetings
Not the
regarding
difference, not the difference in this fee. Can you explain this to us? So I sit here and look at that, you've got $800,000 for lift station 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Correct.
So what's number 5?
The original price of those lift stations was estimated at $500,000. And so the change to those 4 areas is to represent this change from $500,000 to $800,000. And the increase in cost is about $400 per residence.
Okay, what about lift station 5?
Lift station 5 serves significantly less. Those other 4 areas serve about 1,200 to 1,500 residences. The lift station 5 serves, let me find this map. That area serves 572 units. And due to that difference in size that it'd have to be to serve almost half the units, 500 is still a valuable or a valid estimate.
So you are asking us to split the price that we charge on this impact fee and make it different for pump 5 versus pump 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Correct. So of those 5 areas, 4 will be charged an amount similar, and that 5th area will remain at the price, the original impact fee, which I believe is around $1,000. The other 4 areas will pay an impact fee of about $1,500 per unit.
All right, well, at least I understand what's happening. This is the first time this has come before us, so this is a little bit of a surprise. I mean, we've talked about this, but you've never come before us with this dollar amount before.
Okay.
I'm not sure I want to vary this.
So I believe today what it is a hearing to receive input
Right.
on this. I don't believe we're requesting a motion to approve.
They are. The amendment.
Yeah.
That's correct. There's no ordinance or resolution before you today to actually adopt the amount of the impact fees. This is to adopt and accept this amendment to the impact fee analysis that shows these numbers, and then the decision of whether to adopt that full amount or to adopt some lesser amount will be before you at a later date.
So Cortland, this comes down to a point where you say to yourself, okay, so are we going to be myopic here and go down to the level of every pump in the area it serves, or are we going to look at it as a system, the 5, and keep the impact fee uniform?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, that is a question that's before you.
Yeah.
Or that will be before you when
Sure.
when you are presented with the choice of adopting specific impact fees.
Right now, this is
appreciate that.
just, can we do the amendment for the impact fee analysis? That's the question at hand, correct?
Correct. We contracted with Zion Public Finance to have this impact fee analysis amended. These are the numbers that they came up with. This is a chance today, through the public hearing process, to receive input on that. And that can be something you consider going forward as you determine what impact fees ultimately to adopt.
Okay, so Ashley, the question I have now, and this is what I brought up last time we talked about this, before these figures were put here, is the fact, does the county have the ability to keep different collections and keep tabs of this? Because I would argue in the past, we've done one poor job of doing this. And I don't have trust at all that the county can keep separated the amount of money is collected from each fee and administer this over a period of the time that it's going to take to fill in these areas.
10, 20 years.
Yeah. I mean, frankly, since Commissioner Frohr and I have got here, it's all we've been doing is fixing past mistakes. It seems to happen almost on a weekly basis. And it's got to the point where I don't have the faith that we can do that. So that's one of the main reasons I push back against separate fees like this. If they're uniform, it makes it much easier to administer, to collect, and it's part of a system. And it is possible to go down to the smaller level where you break them apart, but it just is harder to administer. And
That's a valid point, and
yeah,
it already exists in that this lift station area is a segment of the whole county. So we already have to navigate that territory due to it's a specific area already. We've worked with GIS, the GIS department, to bring these areas, lift station areas, into our GeoGizmo map. So they're readily available to everybody to look on those maps. So it is still a matter of, as we get to the point of applying that impact fee, somebody needs to look at the map and verify that that unit or that subdivision is within a certain area.
right. Well, the other side of this is the fact that these are estimates right now. You know, they don't come to hard fact until we bid them out and get them going, and that's down the road a year or two. We've got 2 of them up for bid and out right now, correct?
Correct.
And so the 3 are still a year or 2 away, depending on how development goes out there. And this makes it tough.
Yeah.
All right, well, this is good to know.
Mr. Hatch, you assess or clerk, excuse me, you audit or see those fees and break those down. Do you have any comments as it pertains to the collection when you get myopic, like Commissioner Jenkins mentioned, when we not only get to those particular areas, but we get into the small details of these impact fee areas?
Yeah, I would tend to agree with Commissioner Jenkins that in this case, simplicity is, I think simplicity makes sense. I think the nuanced difference in billing based off of location within the county probably isn't significant enough to justify the breakout of the administrative burden of tracking those. But we could probably do some estimates to see how significant that is, and if it does appear to be significant, then we could break it out. But generally, in my opinion, the simplicity of the system will ensure better functioning and better tracking all the way around.
Okay, right now the question at hand is the amendment to the impact fee analysis. Commissioner Frohr, do you have any comments pertaining to that?
I think I have a comment or a question for Cortland. So what we've done is Zions has completed the analysis that we requested. Is that correct?
Correct.
On the impact. And so they've come forth with, after we requested their analysis, they've come forth with this amendment.
Correct.
So the question today is, do we, not that we accept what and put into a resolution what those fees may be, but to pass the amendment, that we're at least acknowledging the amendment and receiving public input on that amendment. We're not obligating the county to any set fees at this point in time.
Correct.
Is that correct?
Technically, there's no action required as a result of today's public hearing, but the public hearing gives you an opportunity to take
Okay.
public comment on those fees that could be adopted in the actual enactment that will be presented to you.
Got it.
Based on discussions with you later. And
So it's just really an opportunity for the public that's looked at that amendment to come up and speak to that amendment, pro or
Yes,
con.
and the potential impact fees that may be adopted.
Right. Okay.
And so, yes, there's not a requirement for you to take any action
Right.
following the public hearing to adopt the amendment or formally accept it or anything.
Okay.
But later, you'll have the chance to vote on
Right.
the fees.
So we'll receive more information later on as we move forward in work sessions, et cetera.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Very good. Yes, go ahead, Commissioner.
So, Sean, aren't you involved in collecting these fees? Who actually, when they come in and they pay this fee, what department do they pay it to? And isn't that department underneath you?
Yes, these fees will be collected with building permits. Yes, so that department is under me, and we have some of these different areas that collect different fees for different reasons. We do have those set up right now, and we have a good process that's been worked out between planning, engineering, building inspection, and Scott Park in the clerk auditor's office, so that we make sure that everything is tracked and it's broken out and it goes where it needs to. And then if it needs to be paid back out at some point, the clerk auditor's office tracks that and makes sure that those are paid on a quarterly or annual basis, whatever it may be.
So let's get into the weeds here a little
Okay.
bit. When this happens, do you have a software program that tracks this?
We don't have a software program, no.
Okay.
Uh,
Then do you have, when somebody walks in and says, that's my lot right there, I want to build on it, and if it's on the line between these two pump stations, who will make the decision what the amount that person pays is?
So like Ashley mentioned, we will have maps, and those maps will be to the parcel number. So when a parcel number comes in or a subdivision comes in, that is on our checklist. So every time a planner looks at a set of plans to issue a land use permit, they will answer that question. Is this in an area that has a separate impact fee? They do that review, they check the box, and then that fee gets passed on and eventually collected when the building permit is issued.
So actually, to Sean's point, when you do lift station number 5, will you outline a border on that where it goes so that somebody that is standing taking this fee can make that decision?
Yeah, that map is on GeoGizmo right now. That's something you could look up and see that area to delineate whether a parcel is within that or one of these other 4 areas.
All right, so then to that, when we collect that fee and that goes from there into the general fund, but Scott Park gets notification of it on a quarterly basis, did you say, Sean?
Scott gets notified every time something is deposited into that account, because when the building permit is issued, there will be several different receiving accounts where that money goes, and Scott has access to all of those. So when he sees funds deposited in a specific account, then he knows what to do with those.
So he doesn't deposit them, you deposit
Correct.
them into that account?
Yes, when the building permit is issued, our
Okay,
building
that
permit
makes sense, actually.
tech actually puts that
Yeah.
money in the account, and then
Okay,
Scott
so
takes it.
what happens if that account exceeds Zion's estimate?
All we would do is collect the amount that Zions has authorized. I don't think they've given us a ceiling that we can actually collect. We would just collect on every parcel that is within that area.
Okay, so at
Until
one
the-
time we were talking about if it exceeded it and the possibility and what we'd have to do there, and it got so complicated. So you're saying under this scenario, we'll just continue to accept it until it's built out?
That's my understanding, unless there is a cap that's specifically agreed to.
Right.
Now, we've done that where we have agreed with the developer who is installing some of this infrastructure. There may be a payback to them on a pioneering agreement up to a certain amount.
Yeah,
But
but
if the
that's
county-
really separate from one's
Correct.
collections, one's expenses.
Correct. But if the county is just collecting an impact fee, we will just continue to collect that impact fee. We have to spend impact fees within a certain amount of time, and if we don't, then the developer can request those
Okay,
to
so
come
Cortland,
back.
do you disagree with anything we've said? Okay, so now on the expense side, when we've agreed to these payoffs to the different contractors for the additional depth we're asking them to do in this area, I'm okay with that. Is there a uniform process that we've developed to decide how much we're paying them? And so there would be sections of this, and it would start with the lift station, and then the first, say, 200 feet of drain lines coming into it, and then the next 200 feet and whatever, until we get to a point where we're 8 or 9 feet instead of 18 or 19 feet. Have you developed that yet, Ashley?
No, this is more regarding the lift stations individually, not so much the length of pipe distributed from beyond the lift stations and the extra depth that may be required.
Okay, so then, the way you understand it, we're going to be paying a pioneering agreement for the depth of the lift station and the people who are installing that, but not for the pipe that's connecting to it.
That would be more subdivision by subdivision, what they need to do to connect to the system.
Well, you say subdivision, but what if one person wanted to connect and they happen to be the person on the very first 200 feet?
They would put in what they need to connect to the system.
And so they'd be on their own to dig 18 feet and get down there to it.
If that's if that's what they'd have to do to connect.
Okay, I'm just trying to get into the detail of this. I hope I'm not being burdensome to you, too. I apologize if I am. All right, well, understand this now. So do I owe the department an apology for my previous comment, Sean, where I hassled you a little bit for our history?
All I'm going to say is, since I've been here, we've been fixing problems, not creating them. So-
Okay. That's true. Thank you very much. Well, thank you for your comments, Rick. I appreciate it, and thank you, Sean. I think I've said enough on this.
No, that's great. I appreciate that. Commissioners, we're going to now move on, unless you have anything else.
No, I'm willing to hear from the public.
Great. Items pertaining to input to consider the sewer impact fee analysis. We'll now take public comments regarding sewer impact fee analysis. Are there any regarding sewer impact fees? Please come forward. State your name and your city, please, sir.
Ryan Ellis, Harrisville. And
Right, Mr. Ellis?
I'm new to all this, and I like your questions. And as I'm listening, and he answered a lot of the questions on where the fees come from. Sounds like developers cover that type of stuff, building permits and things. The one concern I had listening is I see all of our fields being plowed down by all these houses, and then it seems like all these utility companies come back to us as customers and say, oh, hey, we need more money, this is being impacted, fees need to increase. And so my only comment would be in these decisions that are being made in an analysis is I don't like to see our fees go up just because of a bunch of development, right? So I'm just trying to kind of understand, being new to all this, where these fees come from, how they're paid, and if this will potentially trickle down to the customers. So I think an analysis would be a good
Can I
thing.
answer that?
What I'd like to do is we'll answer those questions when we move on to the next thing. So yes, I would like you to do that, Mr. Ellis. Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
thanks.
I also, when we talk about that too, Commissioners, I'd like to address some of the utility companies out of tax. And we don't do that at Weber County, so if we'd address that as well. Any other comments? Shelley, do you have any other comments?
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought that meant I could.
No, come on up. Go ahead. Is it regarding your sewer impact fees?
Oh, it is not. So
Okay,
I can
okay.
hold on.
Thank you. Okay, very good. Commissioners, seeing none, then we'll move on to item number 4, which is a request for a motion to adjourn our public hearing and convene a public meeting.
So moved. Second.
Thank you. A motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Thank you. We'll move on to item number 5, which is action on the public hearing. Now, Mr. Erickson, do we take action for the amendment for the impact fees?
No, there is no need for action on that at this time.
That's what I heard you say, just reconfirming.
Yes.
Commissioner Jenkins, would you please answer Mr. Ellis's question as it relates to his there?
I would. I appreciate your comments. And so the idea behind this is we had Zion Bank do an analysis on how these individual lift stations impact the system as a whole and everybody on it. And they came up with a number in their analysis that we charge in each individual item or each individual person who connects and comes into the system. And the purpose of that is to do exactly what you question. So you as a user and the fee you're paying is not impacted by the new connection. And so the new connection has to carry its own weight, and that the goal here is to not impact the operation fee and keep those fees as flat as possible so that you as a person who is on the system already isn't impacted by it. And so that was what this whole discussion was about, just exactly what you asked. So your question was spot on, Mr. Ellis.
Thank you, Mr. Ellis. Mr. Frohr, anything else on that?
No, I think he brought up also the utilities, and we all know that utilities, basically power and gas, have the ability to add on a 6% franchise tax, which they do in just about every city in Weber County, with the exception of unincorporated Weber County. We have not imposed that tax. So that's one thing you'll see in your tax notice. And utility bills, if you live in unincorporated Weber County, there's not an added 12% if you now are being served by either power, gas, or both. That's 6% each.
Yeah, hopefully that answers some questions. A lot of people don't understand that franchise tax. That's another unincorporated Weber County benefit, a tax that they're not paying. You know, they get their tax notice and they see the 15 to 18 different line items from the school districts or water districts or fire districts. This body doesn't control all of those districts. Those are each controlled by a board. And what we've done in the last 3 years is we've more clearly identified with the tax, the estimates and the notices that go out, telephone numbers where people can reach those specific boards. So if they have questions about that particular line item, then if they want to have positive effect on that particular district, then they can petition that group or that board or that body that's there. Most of the time, the county receives the funds and then they send the funds right back out. We are basically just a collection agency that just turns around and sends those back out. But there's very few items on your tax notice that the county actually has control or takes money from, so receives money from. With that, Commissioners, we'll move on to item I, like India, which is Commissioners' comments.
I think I've said enough today. Thank you.
Same here, no comment.
With that, then, we'll move to item J, which is adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
Motion heard and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Seconded. Thank you. We're adjourned.